As a child, I would have spots that would come and go.
First doctor said that I was allergic to the perfume I was using.
They thought eczema patches, dry skin, psoriasis. I've heard it all.
They gave me ointments and lotions and things. Of course, nothing really happened.
He told my mother this was something called vitiligo.
Who said that I had a scalp infection.
And he says, I don't know what that is, so I'm going to biopsy it. And I was horrified.
And got the diagnosis of cutaneous T-cell lymphoma.
I'd never heard of this disease, and he really didn't have much information.
There was no other information, there was no patient organization.
As a parent of a child that was just given a diagnosis of lymphoma was scary.
I think the most important thing was to not panic.
I thought, I will not live to see my kids graduate from college, to see them get married. I will not meet any of my grandkids. And I went into a spiral and said, you know, where do I go from here?
There was a lot of uncertainty, and it wasn't like other cancers.
There were no support groups out there for cutaneous lymphoma. Nobody knew what it was. The internet was just coming out, and I found out that there was a cancer support group online. It didn't make any sense to me. I couldn't identify. And I told the person who was running that, and she says, well, start your own group. And so I started the listserv.
My husband continued to look into anything he could find out about the disease. One day, he did discover the listserv, and it was a hallelujah. I had never talked or met anyone with my disease.
There were only about 10, 15 people on at the very beginning, and we started sharing information. And then one day I got this call. Hi, I'm Stuart Lesson. You don't know who I am, but you need to start a foundation.
I had heard through a colleague that Judy Jones, a patient with mycosis fungoides cutaneous lymphoma in Michigan, had a listserv. And at the time, listservs were the means by which people interacted. And it made me realize that, oh, great, patients are gathering together to, empower themselves. And then in the late 90s, we had started a clinical trial on a form of immunotherapy. And one of the people from the listserv called me in Philadelphia to ask me for details about the clinical trial to put on the listserv. So I used that opportunity to reach out to Judy Jones, who I'd never met, and I introduced myself, and I said, the field needs a patient advocacy group. It would be great to be able to establish a foundation to support patients and advocate for patients.
And I said, yes, I do know who you are, and what makes you think that I can start a foundation?
I was taking care of a patient. His name was Lee Allen Cohen, who subsequently died of Sézary syndrome, and a memorial fund was started in his memory. And his wife, Judy Shea, was very interested in doing more for the disease. So I met Judy Jones, and I knew Judy Shea, so I introduced the two Judys. Subsequently, the Lee Allen Cohen Memorial Fund became the initial financial support for the foundation. It's like we just jumped out of an airplane and said, let's go. We both were pretty uninformed.
I met with Dr. Lesson, and he introduced me to the dermatologists who were specialists in the field. Then I met Michael Young, who introduced me to the pharmaceutical part of it. Pharmaceutical companies really didn't talk to patients, and they didn't get the patient input. Michael Young put me in a position where I was sitting at the table.
So I arranged to have her speak at a plenary session of bio in Washington, D.C. We got her to the green room without her having any knowledge of the size of the group that she was going to speak to. And in the green room, she met the speaker who would follow her. And that was Francis Collins, the director of the NIH and a Nobel Prize winner. And then when I ushered her out onto the stage, she was gobsmacked by the fact that we had over 2,000 people in that room.
And I had no clue. And I was the warm-up for Francis Collins, who, unraveled the genome.
Judy did a beautiful job. She told her story in her own classic fashion and really helped initiate a much better understanding of how important the patient voice really is.
Well, once we had our pamphlet, we were able to get a lot of the physicians to put those in their offices.
Having the profession become aware that patients are representing themselves and want a seat at the table.
Then at some point we started quarterly newsletters, and then we had the website.
It began to develop patient education forums so people could meet other people with the disease.
And then at some point somebody had this wild idea to have this summit to bring all the doctors together.
So in 2009, the foundation organized a Cutaneous Lymphoma Summit that brought together national and international physician scientists to discuss the current state of cutaneous lymphomas and develop sort of an agenda roadmap for the future.
I think the summit was incredibly successful and really sort of put the foundation on the map and then put cutaneous T-cell lymphoma and cutaneous lymphomas on the map.
I think that really was the forerunner for what is now the World Congress of Cutaneous Lymphomas.
We supported the first quality of life research project with Dr. Marie-France Demier. And it was a collaboration with the clinical community and the foundation to gather what does it feel like to be a patient living with cutaneous lymphoma.
So the foundation was instrumental in funding it and instrumental in recruiting subjects for it. And it really is a perfect example of how patients can empower clinical research.
Being able to come up with money for a young investigator to specifically work on this disease was very important.
And then with some fundraising, the foundation was able to fund a newer program called the Clarions Awards, which was for more mid-career development that potentially would open up new doors for new advances.
In addition to the website, which we keep up to date with clinically vetted information, it's reviewed by the experts in the field. We're also offering webinars, live programs. You can come to an event. We have our annual 2-day patient conference. So we combine learning with community connection.
I would like to kind of give a plug for the patient networking groups. It's been a huge, huge success. We have people that attend the monthly meetings, and we have new people every month.
I mean, there were people who had, if not the exact same situation, similar situations, and we were able to actually talk about it with people who understood.
We have had the privilege to participate in opportunities to present the impact of living with cutaneous lymphoma to legislators and lawmakers, and to have our voice be heard. It's a lot of work, but it has a huge impact.
That alliance with physicians, with industry, and with medical institutions is something that we can all be proud of.
I really see us as the epicenter and then the deliverer.
So I was just Googling, and the foundation came right up. They had great information there. I went to the Q&A for patients. And it was very helpful just to hear everyone's advice.
It was certainly calming to get information we felt like we could trust.
And I found the patient forum, and I started reading it. That helped me to stop feeling sorry for myself.
As a parent, you try to take the burden off, or whatever burden you can take off of your child. And I think the foundation does that.
I've learned a lot about other people's struggles as well, and solutions. And it gives us a lot of encouragement.
It has shown people that they are not alone in the world. So even just that has been, I think, an incredible impact.
I am so excited watching where the foundation is now and where they're going in the future.
The growth that I've seen in the time that I've been on the board is just amazing to me. I cannot believe how many more people we are connecting. The medical community has grown, and we've been right there with them. We provide the programs on the website where patients ask questions directly to the doctors.
The foundation now has over 7,000 patients. It's incredibly powerful, and I'll say incredibly successful.
It has not just impacted the lives of patients, globally, but it has impacted the professional lives of physicians and trainees.
Because of this foundation, patients now have a place to go for accurate information.
That's where I found who I am with this disease.
Because of the foundation, I've made real connections.
I think without the foundation, Sabrina wouldn't feel as comfortable as she does.
And as a care supporter, I think I would feel a lot more isolated.
I would not be able to live well with cutaneous lymphoma myself.
Because of the foundation, people with cutaneous lymphoma have a voice.
And they feel that they have hope.
There are new patients being diagnosed with cutaneous lymphoma every day. And my hope is that someday we will come forward with a cure.
We did some good things, didn't we, guys?